Okay, in this video we'll look at the eosio smart contract. We'll deploy that to our local node EOS and we'll use it to move tokens between accounts. One thing I wanted to show you before we get started is to make creating accounts a little bit easier for me. What I did here is I added an export public key. So here I've defined the public key that we created in the past as a variable on the command line, so I can just reference that anytime. So when you see that in the command line arguments, don't panic, that's all that is. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to need to do to publish this token smart contract is create, similar to how we published the contract before, we had to create an account which we were going to publish the contract to. In this case we'll do the same thing here with the eosio.token account. So here we'll do EOS create account eosio. Oh, whoops. First things first, we need to get node EOS running. Come on. One thing I wanted to point out here is I'm passing the dash delete all blocks command. That way we'll start with like a fresh blockchain kind of every time I start up to walk you through the steps. So you can see I'm not doing anything extra from the previous video or anything like that. Okay, now we should be able to create the account. And we do that this way as we saw in previous videos. And now I can use my trusty public key variable here. This is obviously bad form. You wouldn't want to do this on the main net, but where we're doing tutorial, there shouldn't be any problem with that. Okay, so now we have the eosio token account created, and now all we need to do is similar to the BIOS contract, we simply need to set the contract. And that all works because we've already loaded up the EOS IO token public private key pair, and the code's already been built when we ran make all after we pulled the code down. So in the documentation they kind of show you, hey, there's the create, there's the issue, there's the transfer. These are the different things you can do within the eosio token smart contract. So the first thing we'll do is we'll create. Actually, so this little tidbit actually bears a little bit of a deep dive. So we'll start writing our own smart contracts. I think the next one is actually Hello World, and this one will actually look at what it takes to code up a smart contract, and in there we'll discuss storing state in a smart contract and handling actions in smart contracts. So basically what's happening here is if we look here on the actual smart contract, you can see in the eosio token class there are these three functions, and what these three functions are called actions essentially. And what we're doing here, we're using EOS, is EOS knows how to send parameters to actions of smart contracts using the ABI. So EOS gives you this push action command. And what you're doing with, well, again, as I've done in the past, if I do push action and then don't pass any parameters, we'll see, okay, what does push action actually expect to get? In this case, it expects an account, an action, and then data. So in this case, we're doing EOS push action, and we already created the account, and we already set the smart contract on this account eosio token. This eosio token smart contract has an action called create, as we can see here in the code actually. And create takes an account name and an asset as parameters. So what we're doing here is we're calling the create action, and then we're passing in these parameters here. In this case, eosio, I'm passing the eosio parameter, and then this is an asset. This is how you define an asset in eosio. And then again, as we've seen in previous videos, I'm signing this with the eosio token permissions. So what we're doing here essentially is we are using the eosio token to create however many this is. Looks like, what is it, 1 billion, 10 billion, 10 million? I don't know, some massive number of sys tokens, and we're creating them to give to the eosio account. So if we run that, you can see that you can't see anything yet, however, but the EOS.io user now has however many of those sys tokens. And what we can do here, actually, first I need to create a couple accounts. Whoops. Okay, so I have a user account now, and I'll have a tester account as they do in the docs, so you can follow along. Okay, so I have these two accounts, and what I want to do next is, now that I have tokens, and I've created these tokens and given them to EOS.io, what we can do is we can issue some of these tokens. So what we're doing here is we're issuing 100 sys tokens to the user that I just created called user, and we're using the EOS.io smart contract to do this, and we're signing it with EOS.io because EOS.io was the one who had created the tokens originally. So that's who needs the those are the permissions we need in order to enact this issue command. So now we should, I believe there is a why doesn't this user have any balance? Oh, there we go. It must have been because I had it on the new line. So we can see here that this user it's such a bad name. The next video, I promise I'll pick a different user. This user has 100 sys tokens now that we've ran the issue command up here. I guess this is a good time to mention how to get balances of currencies in EOS.io. So before we were pushing actions to the EOS.io smart contract, CLEOS also has this get currency balance command. And again, if we run get currency balance, it'll show you what it expects to get. In this case, it expects the contract. This will allow other developers to kind of write their own. So a lot of questions I get asked in the Telegram are like, how do I do my own token? Eventually in the future, I know there will be symbol name bidding, so I can like bid on, if I want to name a token SJK, which are my initials, I can bid on that and get that in the EOS.io token smart contract. But another way of doing it currently, which is how people are currently doing their own tokens, is they're creating their own, just as we did with the EOS.io token account and name and smart contract. You can do the same thing and just push it to a different account name. Rather than the EOS.io token account name, you can push it to the Jackson account name. So long story short, this get balance command allows you to pick whichever contract you actually want to get a balance from. And so as long as the contract adheres to the same interface as the EOS.io token contract, you should be able to get a balance using the exact same get currency balance command. And then we're passing in the account with which we want to get the balance. In this case, it's the user account, and we're getting this whichever symbol. In this case, we have the sys symbol. So another thing we can do here really quickly is, so we created this sys token, but we could have easily created any other token we want. Let's say we have an ETH token, and let's issue, rather than issuing the, first we need to create we just did that. Rather than issuing to the user, let's issue to the tester account, and this time we'll send them 100 ETH. And if we do a get balance on that using this new symbol, whoops, wrong user, we can see that user now has 100 ETH. So one other interface that this smart contract has, so we've done the create, in that we created these tokens out of thin air essentially. Now we have the issue, which we did to issue tokens to both the user and tester accounts. And another thing you can finally do is transfer tokens between two accounts, which we can do down here. They show you how to do this, which, I mean, no surprises what the command lines are for that. In this case, we're transferring 25 of the sys tokens that we gave to the user account to the tester account. And now, since that's completed, we can now get the balance of the tester account and see that, in fact, they do now have 25 sys tokens after we've transferred them. So that's basically tokens in a nutshell. Again, a lot of questions that get asked in the Telegram are essentially, how do I create my own token? Do I have to use the eosio.token? So this eosio.token contract actually exists on the mainnet right now. So when you want to get your EOS balance using Cleos pointing at the mainnet rather than your local node EOS, that's essentially what you're doing. You're interfacing with this eosio.token smart contract. But again, as I said, if you wanted to push your own token to the mainnet, you could easily do that following these exact same steps. You can even alter the code to do whatever you want. If you want to have inflationary currency, deflationary currency, all those options are available. It's just a matter of making sure that your interface matches the interface of the eosio token. Okay, so that was a very long video, but I think a very important one because a lot of these questions end up getting asked over and over and over again, so hopefully this video can act as a reference. As you can see in the next video, we'll talk about the Hello World contract, we'll do a tic-tac-toe contract, and then kind of the one I'm most interested in doing is this multi-index table. We already did a whole bunch of videos going through the Boost multi-index, but this video coming up will talk specifically about the difference between the Boost multi-index and the EOS.io multi-index. So I'll see you in the next video.